Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is December 18, 2024, and in this video we're going to talk about the I-539 application to extend, change a non-immigrant status. In this video I'll show you how to fill out the application, what is the I-539A substitute, just in case if you do have multiple applicants in the same application package. We're going to talk about how much the application is, where to file it, who can submit this application and who cannot. Now it's fairly recently there has been an update for this application. I do have the video for I think the previous update. So this is for the most recent update on the application, which happened in August 2024, and that's one of the very first things that I would like you to verify, is to make sure that the application that you are looking at is the same edition, the application that I'm showing in this video. I will try to keep it updated, but just in case, so that we are not looking at different things, the most recent edition at the moment is for August 28, 2024. Again, I'll try to keep it updated, but sometimes I don't get to it because we are already in December and I'm just now getting to this application. There's a lot of stuff to keep up with. Okay, so let's start with from the very beginning. I am on USCIS.gov, official government website for US Citizenship and Immigration Services. All the information provided in this video is going to be from USCIS, and I always recommend, if you are looking for anything immigration related, only use government sources, Department of State, USCIS, obviously. There's a lot of information on immigration out there. Keep in mind, if you want the most updated, the most accurate information, government sources. So this is the front page of USCIS.gov. I'll put the links in the description below. From here, in order to find the application I-539, the form I-539, you can click on Forms right here, the drop tab, and you can either find it in the employment-based forms, even though it's not necessarily employment-based, because sometimes you can file completely unrelated to the employment, but you can find it here, I-539, or you can simply go to all forms right here, and you can either scroll down through all of the forms and find it. It's in alphabetical, numerical order, or you can just type in 539 right here, search, and it's gonna come up. Same way you can type it in the main search function on the website, and it will come up as well. So there's multiple ways to find that form. So here is the page for the application itself. This is where you can find all of the information. We're gonna start from who is eligible and who is not. This is for really any kind of non-immigrant status, except these ones right here. So if it's anything treaty related, anything with e-visas, this is not for you. If it's anything H1, H2, H3, non-immigrant worker related, again, whenever it comes to status extension, you are not filing anything. It is your employer who submits the petition to extend your status, so this is not related to you. L, O, P, Q, R, T, N, these are all non-immigrant worker. Most of them are related. O, for example, it's like the Olympic special abilities athletes. They're on the O visa a lot of times. Again, this is not for you, so this is not, if you're in one of these, if you hold one of these visas and you want to extend status, you are going to be working on it with your employer, or for example, in athletes' cases, their manager, so far so forth. All right. But if you are in, say, most of the times B1, B2, visitor visa, or student visa F, if you are extending the stay, if you are changing the status from one non-immigrant to another non-immigrant status, like for example, let's say you came in on non-immigrant visa B1, B2 visitor, and now you have been enrolled to school and you need to update your status from B1 to F1, from visitor to student. This is it. This is for you. All right. Second thing I want to mention here is that the form is available to be filed online. You are eligible to file the form online if you are the only person on the application. So if you're extending status for yourself, that's it. I highly recommend doing it online. You can still watch this video and follow along with the PDF form. It's going to be same exact questions. They might be in a little bit of a different order. They might be presented a little bit differently, but it's going to be pretty much exactly the same. So you can follow along. I highly recommend doing the online application because it prevents a lot of unnecessary mistakes. It is much faster because once you submit it, once you make the payment, that's it. It is already there. It is already waiting for the immigration officer to be reviewed. Unlike the paper application that you have to send by mail, it sits in the PO box, it sits in the mail room, whatever, until they get to it. Obviously a lot more time involved. Plus, the stuff that you're filling out by hand, even on the computer, typing it up yourself, it just opens up more. Not that you cannot make any mistake online by typing something up wrong, but still in paper application you have a little bit more of that human error factor. All right, so hopefully I've done convincing you with the online application. When you cannot file online application is if there is somebody else on the application. For example, husband and wife came into the United States, both had the B1, B2 visitor visas. They decided that they want to spend more time exploring United States, and they are together submitting the application package to extend their stay in the United States. All right, that's when you are filling out the form I-539A, which I will talk about in this video closer to the end, because it's not going to be for everyone. So in that case, when you do have the supplement I-539A, you have to send it by mail. At the moment, online you cannot do it. Keep that in mind. Okay, so these are where the forms end. There's a few drop tabs here. These are where the forms are. I'm gonna open the I-539. I'm gonna open the instructions, and I highly recommend you go through the instructions, read through them. Not always you find all the answers in the instructions. If you still have some kind of questions, you can drop them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer it in a timely manner, but I would definitely recommend going through the instructions here. Not too much, it's only 17 pages. The application itself is only 7 pages, so we're gonna be done pretty quickly. It's pretty straightforward. I would say overall, in my experience, this is one of the easiest applications to fill out. But the rest of the stuff we're gonna talk about later. There is where to file if you're filing by mail. Again, if you're doing it online, you don't have to worry about it. There's a filing fee. At the moment, I don't even know how much it is, but we're gonna talk about it later. Again, when you're doing it online, you don't have to do any guesswork, because once you are done with the application, you will know exactly how much you need to pay. You can pay right there with the credit card, done. Here you see we have to do a research and find out how much it costs. You have to send in a check or credit card authorization form with the application, so there's a little bit more stuff involved. We're gonna talk about the evidence, obviously, that is needed to be submitted with the application. Again, we will talk about that a little bit later. So let's start with the application to extend change non-immigrant status, I-539. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You have the introductory part here, which is not for you at all. Don't touch anything in here. Nothing needs to be filled out here. This is for the immigration officer who is reviewing the form. So you are starting right here. Again, if you are doing the paper application, I recommend filling it out on the computer, typing up as much information in as possible, and then printing it out and then signing it and going through some of the things that you are unable to fill out on the computer. But you can print out blank form and fill it out by yourself. Make sure you use a very, very legible print, so that no mistakes, and use a black ink. That's very important. Okay, so part 1, information about you, very straightforward. Your full legal name, last name, first name, middle name. John Doe is gonna be, so Doe, John, as always. And middle name, he doesn't have middle name, so I don't leave any blank spaces. There is a conversation going on that you don't need to put not applicable in all of the fields that you're not using, but I don't like to take any chances with this application forms. It's easier to simply say not applicable than leave it blank and then have the whole form returned to you because you left something blank, unnecessary. So just if it's not applicable, put in not applicable. Alien registration number, if you have any immigration case going, you're gonna have alien registration number. If you don't have, most likely you don't have. That's fine, you can put none or not applicable, whatever. USCIS online account number, when you create the online account number, especially whenever it comes to filling out the online forms, sometimes they give you an online account number, sometimes they don't. If you have it, put it in. If you don't have it, none. Number 4, your US mailing address. Make sure you're giving the address where you know your mail is not going to get lost. In care of, obviously that's going to be your name, street number, name, apartment suite floor, if any, city or town, state, zip code. All right, straightforward. So far, very straightforward. Number 5, is your mailing address the same as your physical address? Mailing address is where you get your mail. Physical address is where you actually are residing yourself. Sometimes it is different. Most of the times it is the same. If it's the same, just say yes. You can go through this once you print it out, because you see you can't fill it out on the computer, and just put not applicable. But if it is not the same, obviously, you will have to print it out and go back and fill out the address by hand. Some of these in these PDF forms, sometimes you see you're not able to enter on the computer, so you have to print it out. You have to take a note. Okay, I need to go back to page 1 and finish up writing it in by hand. All right, moving further, it's a continuation of the address. So street, city, we're done with that. Other information about you, item 7, country of birth, straightforward, country of citizenship or nationality, date of birth, US Social Security number, if you have it, put it in. If you don't have it, put none. Provide information about your most recent entry into the United States. All right, this is where we get into a little bit more specific details. Here you're gonna need the help of your Form I-94 Arrival Departure Record. I do have a few videos on this channel, how to obtain your I-94 Arrival Departure Record, because that's where the exact information is when you entered. Chances are, if you are on non-immigrant status, it hasn't been that far back, so you remember it, but make sure you're putting in the correct dates here, because it's kind of important. Okay, so you have date of last arrival into the United States. All right. Form I-94 record number, arrival departure record number. So that's where you need to go to the Customs and Border Protection website and pull up that, unless you already have it. But if you don't, I do have a video on how to pull it up, and there is a video on how to obtain it if it doesn't come up online, how to reach out to Customs and Border Protection. So just in case, you can find that information here on this website. Passport number, straightforward. Travel document, if you have, for example, some countries, they have separately a passport, and they have a passport for their internal kind of like ID, which you would travel with still, but they also have a separate travel passport. So if you have a separate something, there you go, you're putting it in here. Country of passport or travel document issuance, obviously the country that issued your passport or travel document expiration date. Current non-immigration status. So there is a drop down here, and you will see quite a few options here if you're filling it out on the computer. So in our example, B1, temporary visitor. Let's see where it is. There you go. So temporary visitor for business. B2, temporary visitor for pleasure. A lot of times they put together B1, B2. Let's see if there is an option for that. If there isn't, that's fine. You cannot type it in on the computer, but you can print it out and then fill it out by hand, B1, B2, or you can just select one of these. If you select one of them, it's still gonna be fine. And then the date status expires. Now here, keep in mind, the date status expires, it refers to the visa itself, all right? Not the duration of stay, so keep that in mind. and select this box if you were granted duration of status. Now, duration of status most likely is going to be the case if it is B1, B2, because if you have a non-immigrant visa B1, B2, once you enter the United States, you are given duration of status, most of the time 6 months. In that case, you are putting the duration of status expiration, all right? So let's say if you have, for example, a student visa, F1, which is given most of the times for a year, you're putting it in here. Yes, you're gonna have a duration of status there as well, and you're gonna be putting in, it's going to be the same, really, the date for the duration of status and the amount that the visa was given. In B1, B2, non-immigrant visa is a little bit different, because when you enter the country, you are giving that duration of status for a certain amount of time that you can remain in the country, and that's what you are trying to extend. So in this case, you will be putting the expiration for the duration of status. Hopefully that's clear. If it's not, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to address it. All right, let's move on to part 2, application type. All right, so I'm applying for reinstatement to student status, an extension of stay in my current status, and change of status. So there's 3 options. Most of the times it's going to be an extension of stay in my current status. For example, in the example in this case, let's say a person is B1, B2, and they just filing a simple extension. They want to remain in the country for a little bit longer because they want to do some more traveling, some more exploring, whatever. This is it. If you're changing status, there you go. There's an option, a change of status, and there is also a reinstatement to student status. All right. So make sure, obviously, you already know which one you need. All right, moving further to number 2, if you're applying for a change of status or change of employer information medium, complete the following. I'm requesting to change my status or employer information medium to, and the drop down here does not work. So again, if it is something that is related to your change of status, you're gonna know, and I'm requesting the change to be effective. So you have the option what you're changing to, and you have the date. The drop down does not work on the actual PDF, so you would have to actually print it out, and you would have to enter manually by hand which status you are changing it to. Number of people included in this application. All right, so if you are only one, you're selecting the option 1, and if you're filing this application for myself and members of my family, they are expecting, obviously, the I-539A to be included with the application package, which I will talk afterwards, after we are done with this one. That one is even easier than this, so pretty straightforward. All right, number 4, the total number of people in the application, including me. Form I-539A is required for each co-applicant. So let's say, for example, it is a family of 4, they came for vacation, and the husband is sending the I-539 as the main applicant. The number is going to be 4, obviously here. Can't type it in on the computer, have to print it out and have to enter it by hand. 4, and then, so it's going to be this application I-539, and then there's going to be 3 supplement forms I-539A. All right. Number 5 is the name of the school you will attend. So in case if you are, changing status, for example, from B1 to F1, that's gonna be applicable to you. If it's not applicable, just not applicable. Your student and exchange visitor information system. Again, if this form has to do with anything related to student visa, you're gonna have to see this. That's the special number that they issue. Student and exchange visitor information system number, ID number. So you're gonna have that, you're gonna put it in. Again, if it's not applicable, just type in not applicable. All right, moving further to part 3, processing information. We request that our current or request a status to be extended until. Now that's a lot of questions I get about this. If it is a student, then most likely you're gonna know that your student year is for, let's say, another year, right? So you're extending it, you want it extended to, let's say, September of next year, September 2025. All right, so you have more specific dates. But a lot of times, whenever it comes to extending non-immigrant status like visitor visa, B1, B2. In those situations, you might not have a specific date, right? Unless you have a return flight that, you can put the dates knowing that as long as that's enough for you, request it until date and give yourself some more. No problems there. It does not have to be a specific date. You can request another 6 months. You can request another 3 months. Most of the times, depending on what kind of status you're extending, let's say if it's B1, B2, as I've mentioned earlier, the duration of status is issued for 6 months, all right? So you are going to be issued another 6 months, basically, if there is an extension that is approved. Student, whenever it comes to student, obviously you have a year, student year, so your duration of status is for 1 year. So if, let's say you're, applying for some kind of extension from B1 to F1, the student year is 1 year, then it's going to be 1 year. So you don't have to be specific, just give yourself enough time, and yeah, it's going to be completely fine. Like, you don't have to be specific with this date. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 2 is this application based on an extension or change of status already granted to your spouse, child, or parent? All right, sometimes it happens, somebody had their extension filed, perhaps maybe based on their employment status, does not necessarily have to be something exactly as, same situation as yours. And yeah, if that's the case, then you select yes. If that's not the case, then just select no. All right, moving further, is this application based on a separate petition or application to provide your spouse, child, or parent an extension of or change of status? All right, so if it's yes, then you select yes. If it's no, then no. And there's another option for yes, filed previously and pending with US Citizenship and Immigration Services. So if there's a separate I-539 that has been filed earlier, that's the option. There's an option for that as well. Number 4, if you answered yes to item number 2 or number 3, all right, so this one or this one, select the form type below. There is a form I-539, same thing, application to change non-immigrant status. There's a form I-129, petition for non-immigrant worker. So if any of these are the case, then you're putting the USCIS receipt number, the receipt number you can find. So it's going to be the receipt number for one of these forms, so the initial form. And you can find it on the notice of action I-797 that you have received in response to one of these forms. All right. If the petition or application is pending with USCIS, also provide the following information. So obviously you're providing the names on those petitions. First and last name of beneficiary or applicant, that's going to be people on this petitions, either this or that, if you have it. If not applicable. Don't leave blank spaces. So first name of the beneficiary applicant, last name of beneficiary applicant, and date it was filed. Straightforward. All right, moving further to part 4, additional information about the principal applicant. The principal applicant is the one who's filing this application. Current passport information. If your current passport information is different from the information you provided in part 1, provide your current passport information. So very rarely it's going to be the case where the information is different. Most of the time it's going to be the same. You can put the same information, or you can just put not applicable, because that's the one that you provided above is the current one. But don't leave blank spaces, just to be on the safe side. All right, just to be safe. Physical address abroad. All right, so that's going to be address in your home country, or wherever your physical address is, where you're residing outside of the United States. That's what you're going to be providing here. Answer the following questions. If you answer yes to any of the questions in one of these, use the space provided in part 8, additional information, to provide an explanation. I'll show you how to do that just in case. But number 3, are you an applicant for an immigrant visa? All right, so most likely it's going to be no, but if yes, let's say there is some kind of, maybe it's an I-130 family reunification case, then you're saying yes, and you will have to explain it in the part 8. Has an immigrant petition ever been filed for you? Have you ever filed form I-485 application to register permanent residence or adjustment of status? The reason why this is important, why they're asking, is because the petition is for non-immigrant status. You're extending a non-immigrant status. And obviously, if you're extending non-immigrant status, it's by default, you are not intending to immigrate, all right? But if you do have an immigration petition, now it's a little bit of, you know, in a way, a contradiction. Not necessarily, you know, let's say your relative has filed a petition for you to immigrate to the United States that you're going to be waiting for another 5 years on to be current. So in the meantime, you're traveling to the United States on a non-immigrant visa to check it out, to see, not necessarily a contradiction, but there is some explaining to do. So that just keep that in mind. That's why there is a part 8. I'll show you how to fill it out. All right. Number 6, have you ever been arrested or convicted of any crime? Hopefully no. If yes, you'll have some explaining to do. Have you ever ordered, indicted, called, or committed any kind of, participated in any kind of horrible things? Hopefully no. Intentionally injuring person, engaged in any kind of sexual contact or relations with any person who did not consent, bunch of horrible things. So make sure to go through all of this, read them, and answer truthfully. All right. Number 15. So I'm going to skip all this. You read them. Make sure you read them carefully and answer truthfully. Number 15 is, are you currently or have you ever been a J1 exchange visitor? J1 is an exchange visitor. There's an exchange program where you come into the United States for a certain period of time to work as an exchange student while you are in a university somewhere outside of the United States. So there's a whole bunch of different categories for J1. There's one for nurses, there's one for just whatever, students. There's a lot of them. So if that's the case, then you're saying yes. If no, then you're saying no. Okay, we're done with the application. That's it. That's the end of it. Application applicant's contact information, certification, and signature. So your daytime phone number, your mobile phone number. I would recommend using both different ones just in case so that they can reach you. Same thing with email. Make sure to put it in. Signature, obviously, you're going to print it out and then you're going to fill it out by hand. And then date of signature. All right. Interpreter contact information. And then there is also preparer's contact information. Preparer most of the times is the attorney. If you're working with an attorney, they're going to fill out the preparer. They're going to sign it themselves. Interpreter is the one who is most of the times a translator. Anyway, in both of these cases, it is the service that is provided. For example, this right here is not a service because I'm not interpreting anything and I'm not preparing anything for you. Same thing is going to be if a friend of yours or a relative, or let's say your son, is translating you this form and helping you fill it out. He's doing both interpreting and preparing, but you don't need to put him anywhere here because it's not a paid service. So in case if you're going and you're buying a service from someone, then they're putting their information here. But if it is someone, family member helping you out or some kind of online, something like this, you don't need to worry about that. Also, you don't need to worry about putting not applicable. I would, just because honestly, I've seen way too many cases. Way too many cases of applications being returned because of blank spaces left. It doesn't take too long. Just not applicable. You put it once. You copy this, and then you paste it. What is this? Let's see. You copy this. And then, I guess it doesn't want to paste it. All right, fine. Well, you just go through the whole thing and you type in not applicable, just to be on the safe side. All right, so we're done with that. The same thing, preparer. Now we're moving on to the part 8, additional information. So let's say you do need to do some explaining how to fill this out. So you fill out the number 1 with your information, last name, first name, middle name, if applicable, alien registration number, if applicable. If not, that's fine. Leave it blank or put none in it. And you go to the page where you need to provide additional information. Let's say, for example, are you an applicant for an immigrant visa? No. Let's do this one. Has an immigrant petition ever been filed for you? Okay, so that's family reunification case, like example that I've mentioned earlier. So this is page 3 of 7. Item number 4, part 4. All right. So, page 7, part 4, item 4. That's how you let them know that this is referring to that particular location. Page number 4. No, actually that's page number 3. Page number 3 of 7, sorry. So yes, we're gonna select this yes. So that's page 3, not page 7. Part 4, item 4. And here you're doing the explaining. For example, my parent has filed I-130 petition. I am in F1 category, priority date, whatever, so far so forth. That's it. That's really it. That's it. So we're done with this application. Let's briefly look at the I-539A, just in case if you have someone else that is applying for the extension of stay, extension of status. So we're going to open up the I-539A. I think I already have it open. Let's see. No, that's the instructions. There you go. Here it is. So supplement information for application to extend, change non-immigrant status. Pretty straightforward, pretty short, even shorter than the other one. So let's very quickly go over it. So you have, same thing, don't fill anything here, start here. Part 1, information about the person filing form I-539. So that's the main applicant. That's going to be the person, that's going to be you, all right? The main applicant on the main I-539 petition. Straightforward, all right? So part 2 is information about you now. So you have I-539, I-539A. Let's say I-539 is the husband, John Doe. He's Doe, John. So that's the main person on the I-539. This is now the second person in the application package. So that's, let's say, Jane Doe. So Doe, Jane, all right? And the information is going to be for that person. So date of birth, country of citizenship, US Social Security number, if any, alien registration number, if any. Information about your most recent entry into the United States. It's might be same thing as John Doe if they came together. If they didn't come together, it's going to be different, but you're providing it for the second person on the I-539. In the I-539 application package, same thing, date of arrival, Form I-94, we already talked about it, passport number, travel document number, country of passport, passport or travel document expiration date, current non-immigrant status, expiration date. All right, straightforward. Current passport information, if there was a change. Number 10 is USCIS online account number, if any. If not, put none, that's fine. Now, we're moving on to the part 3 very quickly. You see, we're almost done. Same thing, you go through these same questions. Make sure to read through all of them and answer truthfully. If there is any explaining to do, the same thing. There is an additional part 7 here where you're doing some explaining. Once you're done with the questions, you're going in for the applicant's contact information, then the applicant's certification and signature, date, and then if you have interpreter, if you have preparer, they're gonna be filling out their information here as well. That's it. Very straightforward. As you can see, very simple. That's all you're doing. All right, now let's briefly talk about the things, the evidence that you're submitting. I'm not gonna go too much in depth about the evidence that you're submitting with the application, because it heavily depends on what you are applying, whether you're applying for change of status, whether you're applying for extension of stay. For example, let's say if you are, like in this case, husband and wife, Jane Doe and John Doe, they came on B1, B2 visas, they came into the country, they were doing some exploring, they were traveling, they decided that they want to stay longer, and they're filing the extension of stay, all right? What can be an evidence for that? It can be really anything. It can be return travel, the ticket. It can be a simple statement saying, hey, we've been traveling, we've seen this, we've seen that, and we also want to see this and this and that. So they're basically plans, a little written statement of what else they want to explore, kind of showing that this request for the extension of stay is legit. If you're changing of status from B1, B2 to, for example, student visa, in that case, you're providing the I-20, the form that shows, issued by the university, showing that, yes, you are actually enrolled in some kind of educational facility. So you see different things, you're gonna have different evidence. But basically, you want to show that your request for extension of stay or change of status is legitimate. That's really all you're trying to do. So pretty straightforward. Now, let's talk about the filing fee. Let's see how much it is, because I know the fees have been updated. And there we go. So general filing, if you're doing the paper, $470. If you're doing online, $420. So a little bit cheaper to file online. But if you're doing obviously I-539A, then you're doing it paper application anyway, so you're gonna have to do that, and it's gonna be $470. So when it comes to the method of payment, I would recommend doing a check. Just issue a check. It's easier instead of the actual, because it's easier to run a check rather than running a credit card, because with a credit card you do need to provide the credit card authorization form, which is available and you can do it. It is doable. It's no big deal, but I've seen less problems with check, let's just say that. Issued to Department of Homeland Security for the amount. If you're doing I-539, I-539A does not have a fee, so it is included already as part of the application package. So you're paying for the application package. You're not paying, there is no separate fee for the I-539A. So let's say if there's 2-3 people on the application, it's all considered as one application and one fee. All right. Another thing, briefly, you can request a fee waiver on it. Certain applicants may be eligible for a fee waiver on this application. I do have a separate video on how to fill out the fee waiver. Check it out. If you are doing a fee waiver, you have to file by mail. Keep in mind. Okay, so we're done with that. Now, if you do have to file this application by mail, where do you file it? All right, this is, I think, the last thing that we need to cover in this video. So again, in this drop tab right here, where to file, there's a form, I-539 direct filing addresses. So let's click on that and see where we are filing. So there's quite a few different options. Based on which you're applying, you're gonna have to read through and find the one that works for you. So in our example, it's going to be non-immigrants and their dependents. So you see there's for B non-immigrants, there's for F non-immigrants, for J, for M. So depending on which state you are in, let's say Jane and John Doe, they are right now in New York. All right, they're filing it from New York. So let's see, they're in B1, so this is it, filing type B, non-immigrants. Let's see where New York is right here. So it's not on this one, or is it? No, it's not. Let's move to the next one. Okay, here it is. So New York. So these are the addresses in our example. These are the addresses. As you can see, there are two different ones. There is one for US Postal Service, for USPS, it's a PO box, and there is one for FedEx, UPS, DHL deliveries, so for courier service, a separate address. So make sure you're sending it to correct one. If you're sending it with USPS, you're shipping it here to this address. If you're sending it with a courier, you're sending it here. Make sure you're sending it to correct one. So check out, make sure you're selecting the correct category, right? And then you are selecting the correct state and shipping it to correct address. You see all of these things, you don't have to worry about in an online application. That's why I say if you're eligible to file this form online, definitely do that online. You will prevent a lot of this kind of guesswork. You will take a lot of this guesswork out of it. And that's really it. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions regarding anything in particular, drop your question in the comments below. I have a section of whole range of volumes. I think we're on 228 volumes right now, where I go through all of the comments and answer them in one of these videos. So post your question, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the answer. And yeah, I'll try to get it in a timely manner. So thank you very much everyone for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.